In this tutorial, I'll show you the new Final Effects Complete 6 for Avid Media Composer. Hey, here I am in Avid Media Composer, and I'm going to show you the new filters and features of Final Effects Complete 6 for Avid Media Composer. Okay, so let's start right in with the newest, well, they're all equally new, but the coolest new feature, which is called Beat Reactor. So what you see here, I'll show you a little sample of Beat Reactor in action. So what's happening is that the beat or the audio is driving the effect or the filter. And what that boils down to is you have some audio in your timeline and you make it so that your filter is reacting to the audio. So the audio levels are actually controlling the parameters. Alright, so I'm going to show you how that works. It's actually really easy. So this is the effect more or less that you just saw. Guy dancing, you can see some audio curves there and the filter is changing with them. Alright, let's start from scratch though. So I'm going to take the filter, FEC Directional Blur, put it on this guy. So he's still dancing even though there's no music and no beat underneath him. And here's what the filter does. It's very simple, just directional blur like it says. I'm going to reset that. And we're going to enable Beat Reactor. Okay, so this is what you're going to see if you use this function in Avid. You have to create an external audio file from your timeline's audio, or any audio file that you choose to react with. So no problem, I've got my in and out points set for this clip. I'm just going to go File, Export, and again make sure it's an audio and that it's an AIF file. So I'm just going to call this some random thing. It doesn't really matter, of course, you're just linking to it. There it is. And there's our audio now in the Beat Reactor filter. Okay, so the graph looks different here than it did in the other video. That's because we customized it before. So check this out. This is the equalizer, if you will, for the audio. And if I change the resolution, we get a little bit, more of a fine-tuned result. So we can sample more specific frequencies now in our audio. So how do you actually use it though? Well, the first thing you see is apply parameter here. It's default to unused. Depending on the filter, you may have several or just one parameter to apply to. We just have one here, so we're going to use blur length. So that means the audio is going to change the blur length. And this little box appears on the screen, and as I scrub through you can see that it's already doing its thing. It's already affecting the filter. Now you could just stop right there and say, great, Beat Reactor done. But we're going to go a little bit further and make it more customized. So this little box that I pointed out, you can reposition it, sample different parts of the audio spectrum. You can get down to 1 bar, or no bars, rather there. Okay, so like one specific bar if you just want like some guy's voice and he's got a really specific monotone voice. You could do that. Hopefully I'm not like that, but I don't know. And then once you have the part of the graph you want to select, you can control how the audio is sampled from that box. Default is a percentage of the whole box. You could also do max frequency, which is a cool name actually, but if you look at the results now, it's going to take whatever the highest bar is in the box and just read that. So that could be useful. And you could even do on-off. So this just toggles the effect completely on or completely off depending on if anything goes inside the box, which is also really useful for certain effects. Okay, the other thing that you can do with the Beat Reactor, you can change how intense the settings are. So I'm going to go back into box percentage and I'm going to change the output maximum. So 100 might not be enough of an effect, right? Like on a blur. On the other hand, it might be way too much if it's like a glow effect. So pay attention to these values, and also what effect is it having on the parameter. Now you can add to the value that's already there. So if I change the default setting, it's going to change the Beat Reactor effect too, or I can just replace that value. So the default setting now has no effect. And even subtract it, which is also just a cool feature. Alright, but let's just replace it. That looks good. And let us move on, because I could spend way too much time on Beat Reactor, and I'm sure you've taken in enough of it already. Okay, next we have a new feature called Compare Mode. And if I make this track visible there. Okay, so now you can see a clip. It looks like it's split in half, more or less. And what's really happening here is we're looking at one clip that has an effect on it. So if I bypass the filter and turn off those for a sec, so this is the source footage. The filter is FEC Power Ramp. This is what that's doing to the clip. So as you may have guessed by now, Compare Mode lets you see what the clip looks like before and after the effect. It's a very handy tool if you're doing any kind of image restoration or color correction work. This bar here, this linear wipe slider, can be customized where it is, and it can also be animated, as you see there. Here's another example of Compare Mode. This time we are using side by side. This lets you view not one image split in half, but two separate images, one from the affected clip and one from the unaffected clip. So depending on what kind of work you're doing, you may want to view your footage this way. You can even slide that one on its own progression there. Okay, so again, Compare Mode, it's a very useful tool for anything that has to look at a before and after type effect, like any color correction or even some chroma key. As an example, if you were doing chroma key, you can even compare with layers below your filter layer in your timeline. Of course, we have nothing there, but you know, that just kind of proves the point, doesn't it? All right, anyway, moving on. Okay, so let's get on to the new filters. They're actually all transitions. So the new transitions in FEC6. The first one is called Super Dissolve. So it's a dissolve transition, but it's super because it lets you control all the apply modes between the two clips. So standard 50-50 looks like a, you know, generic cross dissolve, but let's change the apply mode to multiply. Now we get something a lot more dramatic. So the multiply apply mode keys out anything that's bright in the image, keys out whites basically. Go the opposite, do a screen composite mode, key out blacks, and you see a much brighter transition there. So it has a totally different feel. Now you can create your own apply modes basically. So if I go into these input and output controls here, check this out. Let me crush the colors. So very dramatic darkening there. Even bringing down the gamma. I'll bring the gamma back up. Okay, output white. I don't want it to be too blown out. Okay, so there. I just created my own custom composite mode with this filter. Transition. You're going to have to get used to that. I always say filter even if it's a transition. Now, check this out. So I created a custom composite mode of my own. Now I'm going to double that with one of these. So let's do multiply on that. Oh, really cool. I didn't actually know how it was going to look, and I am pleasantly surprised. Let's go one further. Let's do the opposite. Let's make it brighter, and we'll do that by increasing the gamma. Bring the blacks up a little bit. Okay, there we go. So now it's nice and bright. So let's go the opposite with an add apply mode. Now check this out. We have a super bright transition between these two, like a glow transition, but created from this super dissolve. So a lot of different fun things you can do here. And of course, the animation in this transition is fully automated, and you can control it too. So maybe I want to put an ease on the in and out coming clips. So that will smooth out the motion, give that nice S curve. And just for kicks, let's change this again. Nice. It gives you a nice, more gradual transition there. Okay, moving on. The next transition is called Rectangular Scale Wipe for obvious reasons. Now, what's fun about this one is it says rectangular, but you can actually customize the shape any which way you want with this shape parameter here. So you can make it a lot curvier, like some kind of star diamond or whatever. And you can even push it out, make it a lot rounder, like some kind of clover or something. And you might want to remember this handy little shortcut. The shape set to 100 is a perfect sphere. So it says rectangular, but now it's a sphere wipe. And what's nice about this filter is that it's not just a punch hole effect, it's actually distorting the footage around it. And you can get some really cool effects that way. For example, I'm going to load this glass distortion preset, and look at that. That's really cool. Now this one requires you to animate the radius to get the transition effect, so I'm going to do that real quick. And let's say 66 should do it. Great. Okay, so I've got my animated effect there. Now what I'm going to do is change this into a lens distortion. Really nice. Okay, but I'm not done, because I got to change these parameters too. See? So it's not just the timing that's customizable in the general shape, it's also the amount of distortion. And let's undistort a bit. So you can really get a nice kind of glass lens effect here. That looks cool. Very nice. Okay, the last new transition is RGB dissolve. So if you see it going through here, you look carefully, you will notice that the red, green, and blue channels are all dissolving separately. RGB dissolve. And if I view the curves here, you can see how each color is transitioning, just like the preview ease curve we had before. So you have the same controls over each color in this one. You can put ease on it if you want. And this is a handy tool. You can reverse them with a click of a button. So just going into reverse color order. I like this color order actually much better than the last one. But to each his own or her own. Okay, anyway, so it's another fully customizable transition. Depending on how much you want to get into it is how much you get out of it. Okay, and those are the new filters and features of FEC6 in Avid Media Composer. Now, if you liked what you saw here and want to try it out before you buy it, no problem. You can download a free, fully functioning trial version from our website, and that's at borisfx.com.